I'm not saying this to be harsh, but let me just talk to my black community. If y'all don't get out there and vote, don't say nothing else. Shut up. If you do not vote, people died. People literally died. We can have the right to vote. And if you're doing all of this protesting, all of this marching, this looting, and you do not vote, I don't want to hear anything else from you. So as we wrap this up, how can we offer some solutions, John? I have some, but I want you to give your solutions on this police brutality and this racial divide. And we don't have all the answers. We're just two regular guys just trying to make a difference in our world. But just offer some solutions.
So if you listened to last week's discussion with my good friend Jeremiah Jay Do, follow him at It's Jay Do. But he had mentioned, because I don't know if we mentioned the election or what, but he had basically said, and I agree. He said it starts in your local community. It's 100% right. So we focus so much on, and I'm not saying national, governors and House reps and senates and the presidential seats aren't important. Obviously, they're important. Yeah. But so many of us put all of our focus on that. We watch all of that in hopes that this person's going to fix our problems. The reality is they're not. Okay, we've had multiple different presidents in each term, and it's not. I have not seen it get better. Okay. And you have to, some communities get better, some communities get worse. The president cannot change a community. In my opinion, they can't really change it. It's harder for them to change it in a positive way than in a negative. They can change it in a negative way a lot easier. But so you have to get involved in your local community. There's just no way around it. It is more important now than ever. Okay, you understand our country is divided into states and counties for a reason, because each one is allowed to make decisions. Therefore, if you don't like how your state does things, you're allowed to go to another state. That's the point. That's why I'm not big on these national policies, because if someone says, well, I think this would be there's certain ones that are nationally recognized. You can't just kill somebody, that type of thing, which we are talking about right now, but it's supposed to be a national thing, right? But there's other rules, whether it's maybe the marijuana thing or that goes up. States that's why we have states. So if you don't like what one state does, you can go to another state. If you like a conservative state, there's lots of those. If you like a liberal state, there's lots of those. A progressive state, whatever you want to call it. There's plenty. So anyways, you got to start having discussions. Go to your local police department, right? And start asking the questions. I'm going to do it. I'm going to reach out to the local police department and just have a discussion. Why? Because we've had an issue here in Beaver Creek. It's been years, but it wasn't a situation, we kind of forget about it, honestly. But as our Beaver Creek Walmart and Beaver Creek officers showed up. And so, so I'm going to send some information, send some emails over there, see who I can talk to, just to have a civil discussion. I know some of the officers, and so have that discussion. And you can ask the right questions. I'm not saying these are all the right questions, but these are the ones I would ask, right? What are we doing right now to support this issue? When I say we, what are you doing, right? What can be done, right? So, okay, are you? I'm assuming the attention of a lot of these departments has been, hopefully, it's brought to their attention. It can't not be, okay? I don't see how it could not be brought to their attention. Some are moving faster than others. Some care more than others. But okay, so that's step one. But now, what are we doing to make things better, right? And understand this, guys. You working towards making this issue better is also better for you, right? It's better for my family, okay? Yeah. If you can't see me, I'm like Casper. So, I don't know how to put it. This light makes me look a little tanner than my real life is. And so, my family benefits too, right? All my neighbors, right? Nothing's better for my community to have a more solid, better police, more diverse neighborhood and city. And so, anyways, can we? How can we increase training if that's what you think is needed, right? And then what programs should we implement? You need to go to your city council, right? What types of things need to be on the ballots? Okay, what do we have to vote for? Like, are you going to tell me it's funding? Okay, and guys, when someone asks for funding, ask what it's going for, right? You always have to ask that. What is this funding for? And why is it needed? And it's okay for them to ask. But you know, always get this, oh, it's not a new tax, it's just a renewal. Okay, renewed for what? That kind of thing. And then, and other than that, guys, you know, vote. You have to. You gotta get out and vote. And I don't remember the lady who was talking about, I think she was from Georgia. I think she was a house, was a house rep. I don't remember. I wish I could remember her name. But she had talked about the census. If you remember her name, tell me. I try to look it up. I couldn't remember. She talked about the importance of this. What's that?
Are you talking about Maxine Waters?
No.
Okay.
I will look it up for next time. It doesn't really matter, honestly. The point is, she was right. So, the census. Participate in your census. It's how your community gets funding. It's how you're basically recognized. So when the census guy shows up to your door and asks how many people live there and how many people are employed and what are the ages and stuff like that, just answer the questions. They're going to be gone in 4 minutes and then off on their day, right? They're not trying to be in nosy. They're census people. So just participate. It's how I had one show up at my house. I never had one show up before that I know of. I happened to be home, answered his questions. He was off to the next house. That's how you're represented. Understand it's important. So take your census. Get involved in your police department, even if you don't like them. I promise there will be. If you send them call them, send an email, and go talk to them, they will be very polite to you. Just go in there and have a discussion, and go to your city council meetings if they're open. So.
Man, absolutely. Those of you that are listening and watching this podcast, if you don't get anything else from what we said in this entire episode, I want you to hear what John just said about voting. Please, not just on a national level, but at a local level. I'm not saying this to be harsh, but let me just talk to my black community. If y'all don't get out there and vote, don't say nothing else. Shut up. If you do not vote, people died. People literally died. We can have the right to vote. And if you're doing all of this protesting, all of this marching, this looting, and you do not vote, I don't want to hear anything else from you. I am so serious. We have 37 days until election day. And I need you to hear what John said. Not just nationally, because the president, no matter who gets in that office, has nothing to do with your local municipality, your local police department, your schooling district, your housing zoning. Very slim to absolutely none effect does Washington have on that. We can control that, okay? And I'm not perfect at that. I can't list you everybody in my city council. I have to do better. But one thing that I am going to do, and I have done since I was eligible, is vote. Do not think your vote does not matter. That's a lie. That's a myth to deceive you, to hinder you, to stop you from going out and making your vote count and matter. And another critical thing John said 2 weeks ago, a census guy knocked on my door. That was the first time I ever filled out a census. I don't know, who is this? I'm like, let me see some identification. Let me see some proof until I actually went into the study. This is critical. We are talking about representation. And if they don't know that we're here, we're not represented, guess what? We won't receive because we're not represented. We won't get what we need. Okay? So please, and we'll talk more about voting in the next couple weeks to come. Those of you that are leaders of organizations, of churches, pastors, businesses, managers, if you are a leader, those that are under you, they should be hearing from you about voting. They should be hearing from you about how important it is, not to persuade them to be Democrat, Republican. You haven't heard that from me or John, and you won't hear it. We're not here to persuade you to be Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, that's your choice. But please, whatever you do not make up in your mind and say, well, you know what, it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm not going to go vote. Please don't do that. Please. So please go out and vote. And like he said, fill out your census. Do you have anything else, bro?
No, in the next several, as we plan these forward, just for the listeners to know, as we get into voting, I'm thinking about this, we will provide sources, things that you can go to. What can you look up online to get your local ballots? Like, where can you go to understand where people stand, like how people stand? I just saw a post the other day. It showed how in Ohio, certain people stand and had like 5 or 7, 8 causes, and it kind of showed you where they stood on theirs, both Democrats and Republicans. It's good information to know, guys. Quit checking the R or D box. That's not important, okay? That's lazy voting. I don't care if they're independent. I've voted for non-R or D individuals quite frequently the last several times, actually, and because I didn't like what the other ones were standing for, I didn't trust them. And so, you're not here to balance they say, if you don't vote for a Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. Is that really how we want to keep moving forward as a country? It has to start with you. You have to start voting for the right person, not to balance, to tip the scale, a red or blue. That's not what we're here for. Just start paying attention, reading. We're going to give some sources on that. And so on different things as we go through this next month, because this is a really important thing. People don't understand how important this is. A right that most people in the world don't have. Do you understand that? Most people don't have that.